Dive, or the Iron Bar. I wonder if he's still alive. This was 1976. This is 2025. This was 49 years ago, around this time of year. It's early September. This was late August. I still remember the dive he made, and the white haze of the clouds, the drive at 100 mph, the keys he retrieved. I remember the iron bar which rolled out from under the seat, and what he called it. The hand which held those keys as he emerged was the same one he would, or had, or wouldn't, or never had, used in wielding the bar. "Hey," I said as the car rounded a corner at top speed, "there's a big piece of metal rolling around." It had connected with the back of my sneakers. I was next to my friend Stephen. We were in the front seat as Ralph drove. I don't know if that was his name. Ralph was probably 4 years older than we were. We were 16 in 1976. It's always easy to remember how old we were because we were born in a 0 year. Ralph looked like a Greg, but I think he was shackled with a name which made him faintly ridiculous. His head touched the ceiling of his car. He was tall. Stephen was tall, too. I think he was 6'1" already. I was shorter than I am now, and I'm 5 feet 5.5. The iron bar had been rolling back and forth before hitting the back of my sneakers. We were all in front, not because Ralph had piles of stuff in the back seat, but because when we'd been about to go to the swimming hole, Ralph got tired of waiting for Dave. Dave was going to bring a cooler, and Dave was going to put it in the back seat. We waited, the back seat door open, by the little cottage Dave's family was renting. The motor was running. "You should honk," one of us said. Ralph looked at us calmly. He gave the tiniest honk, the sort of honk which makes you wonder if you heard a honk. Ralph muttered something. He got out and shut the back seat door. He put the car in gear. We left Dave and his accumulation of beer cans behind, and no one heard us. It was dawn. I don't remember what type of car Ralph drove, but it was the car of a young man who could leave any town he wanted to. It had a white exterior and a black interior. It was spacious. It had an iron bar rolling around under the front seat. "That," Ralph said as he rounded the curve. He told us what it was. It was a beater, and the word he put before beater was the most terrible in the language. Through lush scenery, Ralph accelerated. The stream to my right and the cool, rangeley air told me why we were in vacation land. "I may have to use it someday," said Ralph. His eyes said, "Maybe I've used it." A little entrance nobody ever saw opened up, and Ralph slowed the speeding car with skill. He parked on some pebbles and walked down a tuft of pine needles. Ralph stood on a boulder. He looked to his left. There was a path to a cliff. "Imagine carrying a cooler up there," Ralph said. We walked a few minutes, and at the top we saw an off-stream pool of water. Ralph, who'd been in a t-shirt, jeans, and boots, shed his encumberments until he was in a pair of cutoffs. He had the biceps of a worker, not the studied musculature of a bodybuilder. He dove straight down. We waited for his head to emerge. "He's been there a long time," Stephen said. "Oh," he said, "he's all the way down there." Ralph made a sound like the barking of a seal, and he swam to a log jutting out. He got to where the log was lodged and climbed back onto dry land. He walked back up the cliff and retrieved his shirt, jeans, and boots. "That's some current," Stephen said. Ralph nodded. "My dad wants me back," Ralph said. We'd met his father a day or two before, when various families at Samoset had a cookout. "Ralph's shy," he'd said. "We're glad he's back for the summer. He doesn't socialize much." I'd made the mistake of saying, within Ralph's earshot, "He doesn't look shy to me." Dave had looked at me and said, "Don't hurt his feelings." Ralph had been fixing the engine. He'd called to his father to ask if he could borrow a spring his father had put in a coffee can and had stuck on a shelf in their cottage. I thought he couldn't hear me. Ralph put the spring, I'm guessing that was what it was, I never noticed practical things, back in, and we were quickly off to the town of Rangeley. It was Stephen, Dave, and me in Ralph's car. Then again, maybe we'd been in town, and then I'd said the thing about Ralph and shyness. It was in a parking lot in Rangeley that day that I'd first had a puff of marijuana. We were sitting in Ralph's car. Dave, Stephen, and I watched Ralph take a little tiny pink rolled-up piece of paper from his wallet. He sat behind the wheel as we looked at all the other parked cars. He lit the joint, put it to his lips between thumb and forefinger, inhaled, and handed it to Dave. Dave said, pin joint, and inhaled. He handed it back to Ralph. Ralph inhaled and then, turning his head, held the little pink sliver towards Stephen and me. Neither of us moved. Then I held my hand out. It was like trying to drink water from a thimble. Perhaps it affected me. Perhaps it made me blurt out later that day that Ralph didn't seem shy. But maybe I'd said that before. My judgment was never good. Stephen and I didn't go in the water. Dave put his jeans on over the wet cut-offs, then his boots and T-shirt. He patted his pants pocket to make sure his car keys were in there. "Never lose your car keys," he said. He walked back to the car and got in. Ralph maneuvered it out of the foliage and onto the road. The car hugged the curves as we sped towards Samoset. Once we got there, Ralph turned the car toward his father's cottage. His father was in the distance. Dave's parents' cottage was to the right. A look of alarm crossed Ralph's face. He took his foot off the gas and braked. He put the car in park. He patted his pants pocket. He put the car in reverse, and soon we were headed out of Samoset. Quietly but quickly, he turned onto the street. "Dad's keys must have been in my bathing suit pocket," he said. The drive to the swimming hole had taken about 20 minutes the first time. Going back, Ralph hit 112 miles an hour. Stephen and I saw it on the dashboard. Along the bending road by the river, Ralph's car raced like a rocket. He parked in the same place, just as smoothly, decelerating with the skill of Mario Andretti. He bolted out of the car, took off the boots and the Levi's and the T-shirt, and sprinted to the top of the cliff. He dove straight in again. Stephen said, as he'd said 40 minutes before, "He's been under a long time." We waited, the wind getting cold as the pine trees wheezed. A fist came up out of the water. Ralph climbed out, stepping on rocks under the cliff. He made the barking seal sound, held out his hand. Something was in it. He got dressed again, a look of validation on his face. He got it up to 116 on the way back. How he'd found a set of keys on a ledge under the water is a mystery to me. What he had under his front seat was unnameable. He knew.